Hi, I'm Beth Rowles. My parents were separated in 1990 and finally divorced in 1992 when I was 10 years old. By 1994, we were moved out of the house I grew up in sunny South Carolina. The house with a big, beautiful backyard and blue pool where I swam every day. The backyard bordered by the woods where I knew every tree by the name I'd given it. We were homeschooled, so I spent the majority of my childhood in this place with my older brother and my mom and my dad. But in the summer of '94, what was left of our belongings was moved into my grandmother's attic in snowy Michigan. Eventually, my dad and his new wife moved across the country and 45 minutes away so we could still see them. But by 1996, my brother was no longer speaking to my dad for various reasons, so I became the black sheep who still loved and visited him. My mother gave me nasty mint-flavored medicine for my stomach aches, and she cried and walked away in disgust when I told her I missed my dad. So, in 2016, when my second child was born, and I had Googled divorce attorneys of my own, I was devastated. I had vowed from that day that I watched my dad drive away with what he had, part of our things, to a little house somewhere across town I'd never been to before, that I would never, ever put my children through a divorce. I couldn't fathom that I was now staring it in the ugly, bruised, swollen face myself. I was desperate to give my children a beautiful, drama-free childhood. I invested heavily in learning how to parent and even became a certified conscious parenting coach. I did everything right, and it felt like my husband was about to undermine it all. Research suggests that modeling a healthy relationship with your spouse is paramount to raising a well-adjusted child because you protect them from the trauma of divorce and you model the skills they need to have supportive relationships as adults. So today we're going to talk about two different things. Number one is how improving your marriage protects your children from the highly traumatic experience of divorce. And number two is how modeling these healthy boundaries and communication skills through your own marriage equips your children to have supportive relationships as adults. So while divorce may be beneficial or may seem to be beneficial for the two adults in the situation, for children it completely turns their life upside down. There is no benefit to childhood to divorce for a child. The costs for the child are great, and they include emotional damage, like experiences of being sad, grief, anger, anxiety, uncertainty about what's going on, and worry about their parents' well-being. But they can also experience psychosomatic symptoms like headaches, vomiting, dizziness, sleep problems, stomach aches like I had, inability to concentrate in school. In 2001, Paul Amato updated his meta-analysis of 92 studies previously published in 1991 with results from 67 new studies, and he found that on average, children with divorced parents did significantly worse than children with continuously married parents in terms of academic achievement, self-esteem, popularity and peer relations, misbehavior, depression, and anxiety. There is no age group that's not negatively affected by divorce. From infancy to adolescence, studies show that nobody gets through it unscathed. Even infants are not immune. Babies with regular overnight visits with their father are more insecure and disorganized in their attachment to their mothers, according to a study published by Solomon and George in 1999. A second study by Clark Stewart and her peers published in 2000 showed that very young children are less positive, affectionate, and engaged in play with their mothers than children from married families. But the effects of divorce don't end in childhood. In 2000, the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology published a study of college students whose parents had divorced, and they found that 75% felt that they would have been a different person had their parents not divorced. Over half said that they missed not having their father around, they had a harder childhood, or they wished that their parents had never divorced, and 25% wondered if their father even loved them. In 2001, a study by Furstenberg and Kiernan indicated that individuals whose parents divorced are more likely to break up with their live-in partner, suffer economically, live in subsidized housing, be on welfare, and men are also more likely to be unemployed. Further, divorce is as traumatic to the child as the death of a parent. It's a significant wound to the heart and emotional center of the body. According to psychologist Judith in her book, Eastern Body, Western Mind, she says that this can result in either empath or narcissistic behaviors, so either codependency and no boundaries, or basically a lack of sympathy for anybody else and being highly critical and withdrawn. So, as we see, the path to divorce begins in childhood. When children witness their parents' dysfunctional relationships, they're not learning important relationship skills. Instead, they're learning from adults who are jealous, domineering, moody, angry, hostile, even parents who stop talking to each other or fight all the time. In one two-generational study published in 2001 in the Journal of Marriage and Family, parental divorce doubled the odds that offspring would see their own marriages end in divorce. But modeling skills that contribute to relationship success through our own marriage teaches our children how to navigate the world of human interaction with an ability to problem solve and co-create solutions. We can teach our children how to actively listen with empathy, how to self-regulate their emotions, how to use their calm energy to influence others. We can show them what boundaries look like, what it means to set an intention for the outcome of an interaction. There's so much that we can model to them that set them up for success. They can also learn that it's up to them to create the life they want to live, and a spouse is only one part of their journey. The more independent they are, the more capacity they have to love others. By holding boundaries through our relationship, we can save permanent separation as the final boundary and not the first. By teaching others how we expect to be treated, we either don't enter or we change the dynamic in our relationships. So yes, research suggests that modeling a healthy relationship with your spouse is paramount to raising a healthy, well-adjusted child because you protect them from the trauma of divorce and model the skills they need to have supportive relationships as adults. We know without a doubt that divorce is a traumatic experience for children in the family, causing intense short-term and equally destructive long-term effects. But by leaving divorce for the final boundary when it's absolutely necessary, we're able to model healthy relationship skills for our children that lead to conflict resolution, empathy, human connection, and supportive relationships. Nearly every parent seeks to equip their child for success, and while we often focus on their academic skills, financial prosperity, or physical health, we often neglect to provide the human interaction skills they need to be successful adults. Almost no task in this world is void of the need to effectively communicate and connect with other people. It wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I learned how to do this. You see, I was determined not to divorce my husband. And in that desperation to get this mom thing right, I learned what it meant to have a healthy relationship. I learned how to use our conflicts for inner growth. I learned how to listen with empathy, how to feel my anger without being controlled by it. I learned how to change his behavior by changing mine. And today our marriage is better than ever because we're no longer two wounded little children trying to play house. Today, we have the adult skills to navigate life's challenges without attacking and turning on each other. I've outlined this process in a framework I call the quantum love journey. Just like a corporation uses their KPIs to evaluate, reflect, and improve, I was able to use the conflict in my marriage to evaluate my own self, my own wounds, my own self-awareness, to become more of who I really am and to heal the traumas that had happened to me. Wouldn't it be amazing if every parent dedicated themselves to ensuring their child's success by modeling healthy relationships? Imagine the far-reaching positive consequences of modeling the skills our kids need to build the families and communities they need to be supported to do their best. So I have one thing to ask of you today. The next time your husband makes you angry, ask yourself where that anger is really coming from. What part of you wants to be protected? And give your precious inner self the love it never knew. Thank you.